Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are. Today, we are going to be talking about the past simple. This is going to be a review of what you already know about the past simple. So let's begin. First of all, what is the past simple and how do we use it? When do we use it? We are going to use the past simple to talk about situations that happened in the past and that were completed in the past. For example, I walked to the store. Think about anything that you did yesterday or maybe this morning, last week, a year ago. If you want to talk about any of those things and describe them, all you have to do is use past simple. So, like you can see right here, all these things that happened in the past and that were completed in the past, they can be described using the past simple tense. For that, we're going to see that we're going to use two different types of verbs. We are going to have regular verbs and we're also going to have irregular verbs. For regular verbs, we have visited, and for irregular verbs, we have ate. We're going to see more about this in a second. So, first of all, we're going to be focusing on regular verbs and how to use these verbs. So, for the affirmative, you are going to have the following structure. First, you're going to have a subject. Remember that it can be a pronoun like I, you, we, he, she, they, it. A name like Roxanne, John, George. Or you can maybe refer to someone else, like when you say the teacher, the president, the bus driver, and so on. And then you're going to use the verb in the past tense. Because these are regular verbs, that means that they're going to end in ed. Let's take a look at examples that we have on the screen. First we have, I lived in London. She lived in Paris. He watched a movie. They wanted a holiday. All right? See how we have added ed to these verbs to have the past simple form. Although, please remember that if the verb ends in e, then you only need to add d at the end of the verb. For example, live, lived, joke, joked, arrive, arrived, agree, agreed. For that, we have some rules about the spelling of the ed ending in regular verbs. For example, we have verbs like watch and play, where you only need to add ed, watched, played. Okay, that is the general rule, to add ed. Then we also have words like and arrive, the ones that we just saw, where the past is going to be liked, arrived. For that, because they end in e, you only need to add d. And then we have words like study and try. These words end in a consonant plus y. And then they become studied, tried. So the rule for this is going to be to delete the letter y and add ied. And finally, we have stop, rob. These are the words that end in a consonant plus a vowel plus another consonant. When that happens, you're going to double the consonant and then add ed. For example, stopped and robbed. See how stop, you now have not one but two p's before ed. And in robbed, now you have not one but two b's before ed. These are the 4 spelling rules for the regular verbs. But then we also have irregular verbs. Let's remember what these verbs are. Irregular verbs are those that change completely. They can just turn into some different word and they do not follow the ED rule. Here we have some examples of common irregular verbs. For example, say becomes said. She said hello. Make becomes made. We made a kite. Go becomes went. He went to the store. Take becomes took. They took a picture. Come becomes came. My son came home. And see becomes saw. She saw a movie. Remember that all you need in order to memorize irregular verbs is to practice a lot. You will need to practice a lot in order to memorize the different forms of the irregular verbs. Now, how do we make negative sentences and questions with the past simple? For making negative questions, you're going to have the subject plus did not. Remember that you can use the contraction didn't plus the verb in the base form. For example, I didn't go to the movies yesterday. She didn't complete her assignment. Please pay attention to the verb. Even though before we learned about the regular and irregular verbs, when you are talking in a negative sentence and you use didn't, then the verb goes back to the base form of the verb. So you don't need to say she didn't went. You need to say she didn't go. All right? That is very important. And then how do we make questions? For questions, we're going to use did at the beginning of the question plus the subject plus the verb again in the base form. For example, did you enjoy the book? Did he go to school last week? Again, in both cases, negative and questions, the verb goes back to base form. That is very important to remember. So, basically, this is how you talk about the past using the past simple. You can here see a comparison of the positive, negative, and question statements. For example, he met his wife 6 years ago. He didn't meet her. Did he feel sad yesterday? I graduated from the university. I didn't graduate. Did they watch a movie? They watched a movie yesterday. They didn't watch a movie. Did he meet her? Okay, so these are just some examples that you can check out in your free time to get familiarized with the structure of the past simple in positive, negative, and question statements. So, tell me, what did you do last weekend? Use the past simple to remember what you did, what actions you did, and then tell me about it. In my case, I went to the beach, I saw some friends, and I watched a movie. So finally, we're going to use the past simple to talk about things that happened and ended in the past. We're going to be using regular and irregular verbs in affirmative sentences. Remember that regular verbs end in ed as a general rule, and that for negative statements we're going to use did not and then a verb in the base form. Same with questions where we use auxiliary did and then the verb in the base form. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you.